Hey, peace and blessings, Freedom Church. This is your beloved pastor taking a few minutes out of his day, actually downshifting, getting ready for praise team rehearsal after preparing some work here at church. And I want to share something with you that I believe is just going to be so beautifully profound for a lot of believers. You know, I have had a tremendous revelation on faith for many, many years. But what I love about God is the more that we grow and the more that we're willing to learn, the more that we're capable of knowing, because God is an eternal teacher. And as I was going through this most recent episode of this viral virus that has attacked my body, wasn't COVID, wasn't the flu, it felt like the combination of the two, and I've just never seen anything quite like it. And I was praying and asking God to heal me and deliver me expeditiously. Some of you know, some of you don't know, last Sunday I had a speaking engagement in Sandersville, a place that I really wanted to be, one of the churches that we oversee, Kingdom Advancement Ministries, had and asked us to come and celebrate their 18th church anniversary. And man, I was so excited. I love that ministry and the leaders there so much. And I got the little feeling in my body Monday evening, something wasn't right. Didn't think much of it. Tuesday morning, woke up and felt like a Mack truck had hit me. And I immediately went to the med stop, tried to figure out what was going on. And they immediately put me on bed rest and said, sir, you need to go home, get into bed, don't move, don't think, don't work. You got something serious. And if you take these medications and rest, it should dissipate in a couple of weeks. I said, a couple of what? I said, yeah, about a couple of weeks. So I'm like, okay, God, I know that you're not going to let me miss my preaching engagement. Not this one, for my dear friends, a place I want to go and be, a place that has honored me tremendously since the inception of us saying yes to overseeing the ministry and just becoming friends with the pastor and the first lady beyond ministerial parameters. Real relationship, real friends. And I said, okay, God, I know you're going to raise me up so I can get down there and do that. And this was on Tuesday. Wednesday came, still sick. Thursday came, still sick. And it was Thursday, I told my wife, I said, you probably need to go ahead and let them know that I probably won't be able to make it, not the way things are looking. And in the back of my mind, I kept saying, well, surely, though, God's going to raise me up in the ninth hour and I'll be able to do this thing. Friday came, sick. Saturday came, sick. Sunday came, still sick. And I grappled with that thing back and forth saying, God, why would you not raise me up? Why would you not heal me for the purpose of going down there to do ministry? I had an assignment. I had a word. You gave me a word. And God just gave me Romans 8 and 28. Sometimes God will just give you his word for, his answer. And he just gave me Romans 8 and 28. Then we now know that all things work together for our good, and those who love the Lord and called according to his purpose. We know this with scripture. So I said, oh God, I'm going to make peace with this because apparently you see something I don't, you know something I don't, and there's a greater purpose, I'm sure, that's happening. I can't see it. And as I was going back and forth with God, I began to think back over my early years where I would really fall to pieces when I needed God to do something for me and God in my mind didn't come through. Like the light bill was due and got a cutoff notice and then say you don't have it paid by 5 o'clock Monday evening. We're going to cut it off. And you went to church and praised and jumped and shouted and maybe even gave a seed if you had any seed to give. And here comes Monday. No miracle, no breakthrough. Boom, the lights get cut off. That happened, and things like that have happened to me in my early walk, and it used to just blow my faith to smithereens because I couldn't understand why God wouldn't come through for me late in the midnight hour. You know the song we sing, that God will turn it around and it will work in your favor. But what do you do when God doesn't come late in the midnight hour? What do you do when God doesn't turn it around? What do you do when it doesn't work in your favor? And I had this prevailing thought that I believe is going to bless somebody. And I wrote it down because I want to say it the way that God dropped it in my spirit. And here it is. Keeping the faith when it seems like the faith is not keeping you is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. Now, I got some believers that should shout and run around the house because you know I just said something that's real true. Keeping the faith when you feel like the very faith that you're trying to keep ain't keeping you. And it is the hardest thing you'll ever do, I promise you. And when God dropped that in my spirit, I said, okay, God, I agree totally. But what's the flip side of that? And God said, the flip side of this particular statement is this: and yet the key to having a faith that keeps you is impossible without you keeping the faith when the faith, when you feel like the faith has failed you. Man, let me say that again. I wrote it down the way that God dropped it in my spirit because it's profound. I want you to hear it and get it. And yet the key to having a faith that keeps you, it's impossible to have this kind of faith without you keeping the faith when you feel like the faith has failed you. And I was reminded in scripture where it says, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift each of you as wheat. And I want believers to understand this, that our faith walk is not a faith walk until we have believed for something that God has not done for us. Our faith walk is not a faith walk until late in the midnight hour, God doesn't turn it around. Our faith is not a faith walk until it doesn't work in our favor. Because then and only then are we able to make a decision. Am I going to continue to trust God? Am I going to continue to stand on his word? Am I going to continue to walk by faith and not by sight? Or am I going to say, hey, this faith stuff doesn't work? Don't be deceived. Because even when it feels like and looks like and seems like the faith world doesn't work, trust me, it is at that precise moment that it is working. What do you mean, Pastor Troy? How's it working and I'm still sick? It's working because even though you may still be sick, your faith is being fortified instead of it being fragile and fickle. Your faith is being strengthened to the degree that it can stand the fiery furnace and make a statement that says, even if God does not deliver me, I will not bow, I will not fold, I will not quit, I will not lose hope. And as I've been battling this thing over the last week or so, this is the revelation that God has really been pouring into my spirit. That yes, I know you're disappointed and sometimes frustrated because I am not moving when you want me to move. Or yes, you're frustrated and aggravated because I won't give you a suddenly. I won't give you an immediately. He says, but trust me, I'm doing more than you can see. And if you really do trust me, you'll stick with me when you can't see. And I have stuck with God, stood on faith, put God's DNA on it. And my faith has really become stronger, even though God has not manifested the healing the way that I've seen him do it for so many others. It really messes with your mind when God doesn't manifest the healing for you that you have seen him manifest for so many others through you. Woo, you talking about something that'll mess with your head. But at the end of the day, I think we have to remind ourselves that whether he heals or whether he doesn't, whether he delivers or doesn't, whether he blesses or doesn't, he's still God. And the truth of our relationship and love for him will always be tested when God says no, or God doesn't come through, or God doesn't do what we're asking him to do the way that we asked him to do it. Always keep this in the back of your mind, that Satan has asked to sift each of us. And if he can't sift you one way, he'll sift you through this way called faith. Don't throw in the towel. Hold on to God's promises. And if God said it, that settles it. And maybe you don't have an immediate testimony. Maybe yours is not a suddenly. But at least you ought to be able to have this testimony, that even when God didn't come through when I wanted him to, I held firm. I was steadfast because I was walking by faith and not by sight. Be encouraged because God rewards those of us who have true faith. and not a fickle faith that folds when things don't go our way. God bless you.